How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we are going to be working on Tegan's engine. And in episode 1, the last video, we went and stripped out 100 kilos out of the Integra, so it's super light. And in this video, we're going to be working on the power side of things. So we did say that this is a game of power to weight. And yeah, what we have in front of us, we have 2 engines we are going to combine together to build an LS VTEC turbo engine. And our goal is about 500 horsepower.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be pretty nice if we could get there. And the way we're going to do this is to combine the B18B engine with the B16A2.
So mainly why we use the B18B, just the price. It's actually quite a cheap engine here in Australia. Yeah, anything that's B18C is quite expensive.
Yeah. So the B18B, this engine was free. It's a high kilometers engine. Also had some bearing wear and generally wasn't that healthy. This is a B16A2 and we got this for $1,000. So really this engine in stock form would only cost us about $1,000, maybe $2,000 with a general rebuild. But we are going to be putting pistons, rods, head studs, that kind of thing in there, which we'll get to. So tonight we are going to work on the B18B block, strip it down, and then we're going to be doing what's called resin filling. So it's really a cheap way to get some sort of cylinder support.
With Honda motors, they're an open deck block. So obviously the coolant flows all the way to the head, completely surrounding the cylinders. And obviously this is quite bad for like making power, like the cylinders kind of vibrate around, you crack a sleeve. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to get resin and fill inside this coolant passage to give it heaps of rigidity. And yeah, hopefully we can make a bit more power on it, on the stock sleeves.
Yeah. We are going to retain some cooling capacity in this too. So what we will do is probably, we'll go through the procedure, but what we're going to do is fill it with resin and then drill out some holes according to our head gasket. And then we can still get coolant flowing through it.
Correct, yeah. So this is the resin we'll be using. It's just from a local supplier and manufacturer of carbon and fiberglass and resins. They're just, about 30 minutes out to Sydney's west. It's just a normal epoxy resin used for like laminating, like making carbon fiber parts and fiberglassing and repairs or whatever you're doing. So yeah, it's definitely obviously not suited for just filling an engine block, but yeah, we're gonna send it and see what happens.
So rated to 77 degrees.
77 degrees Celsius is rated to max.
But you know what? I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think with the correct preparation and the correct like method and processes, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think it'll work. It'll work.
Yeah. So the plan tonight is really just to give the sleeves a good clean. And this is an alloy block, and what we're trying to do here is just clean everything out and prepare the surface so that we can fill it, and we really want to have good adhesion.
Yeah, correct.
So that's probably going to be the key to making sure we have a good cylinder support.
Yeah, well, I think with anything that you do, preparation is always key, regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, giving it a clean, giving the 2 surfaces a very good sand and scuff up with sandpapers and whatever we can get in there.
Just so we can give the resin something to bond to.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So in, I think, the first part of this series, I talked about how we wanted to grout the block, the concrete grout. We're not very familiar with either or, but I believe the grouting, if you use like the Moroso cement, when it hardens, it ends up distorting the sleeve. And you then have to go and send it back to a machine shop, get it honed, bored, and we want to get away with absolutely no machining.
Yeah.
And that's why we've decided to try the resin. And of course, as a disclaimer, we are not engine builders.
No,
we're just having fun.
Definitely not.
But yeah, this should be good.
So we've got a couple of different cleaning products here. We've just got in a pump spray bottle some methylated spirits. And then we've also got acetone. And then for prepping the surface for the resin, I've got just a scouring pad that we use in the industry.
Yep.
This is like a 120 to 180 grit, which to be honest, for scuffing up steel for resin is actually quite fine. So then I've also got some sandpaper here that's 100 grit, enough key that you would need for the epoxy. The more key you have, the better it's going to work.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways. Then yeah, just some coarse steel wool to try to help clean it. And yeah, that's about it.
We're going to do our best just to get it as clean as possible.
Yeah.
And we'll get some good adhesion with that resin. I think that's it, eh? You happy with it?
Yeah.
Okay, all the prep is done on the block, ready for the resin. And it was quite an extensive process. So we're going to quickly run through in a minute the whole process.
Yeah. So obviously first off, we had that white powder sitting on the surface. So we gave that a good clean and scrub with methylated spirit and the steel wool. Then after that, we went in with the sponge, which to be honest didn't really do much. It wasn't really till we got to the 80 grit sandpaper on the little white stick that really started cleaning up the surface and started giving like a nice key for the epoxy to stick to. So we're pretty, I mean, we spent, like we said, we spent hours doing it. And it's quite good now. I'm pretty satisfied with how all the surfaces are looking.
You can see how in between the sleeve and the block, you can see that it's quite scratched up. That's what Chris means by keying. We're trying to give the resin a surface to bond to.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll start masking up with the surfaces where we don't want resin to go. And then we'll put a little bit of plastic also over the block so we don't get nothing on the outside. This little water area here where coolant comes to a plug, that needs to get filled in with some masking tape. And then this hole here where the water pump pushes the motor into the block, we'll have to jam some masking tape into that. And to make sure this one's pushed in quite tight because you don't want any resin on the thread. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get that plug back in.
You can definitely tell as a painter. Okay, so Chris has masked up everything we don't want touched. So we are pretty much ready to start pouring resin, but because we are only doing a half pour, so 20 mil of our cylinder support, we want 20 mil from the top of the deck, and we are going to fill the bottom of it with some sugar. So that way when the sugar is sitting inside, we can measure out 20 mil and the resin can sit and harden on that.
I hope our block doesn't get diabetes from this.
Oh, definitely be type 2. So what color are we painting the sleeves?
And we do have some Milano red and aerosol can. So I reckon we'll just aerosol can at Milano red.
Yeah, great.
I think.
Perfect.
Send it. You're not going to like this. But it does absorb water. So at 24-hour immersion, it absorbs, it just gives a percentage, 0.12%.
So in 1,000 hours, it'll absorb.
It'll absorb all our coolant and it'll just be completely waterlogged and it'll just fail. But I think with my favorite water wetter, I think we'll have zero absorption.
Why is that?
Because the water wetter, it's actually not water. It's actually making the water wetter.
Yeah, so we've got all the sugar down. With the paddle stick, we ended up cutting a bit of a
straight edge on it.
Straight edge,
instead of the curved.
Just so we could move the sugar around a bit better. So yeah, we just overfilled it and then just flicked the rest of it out. And yeah, we're ready for our resin pour now.
Yep.
So we are going off the instructions on the data sheet.
It's a 2-to-1 product. of part A, part B, the resin itself plus the hardener, but it's 2 to 1 if you're mixing it as volume. Because we've got scales here, which is how I usually mix resins, we've got to mix it by weight, not volume. It's 100 grams of the resin to 44 grams of the hardener, because obviously the resin is slightly more dense than the hardener, so there's different weights.
Yep.
So luckily
they gave us the weight.
They both, yeah, but like it says by volume and by weight, which is nice. 200 grams of this, which is heaps actually. There we go, 150. We'll go 150 for the first pour. All right. So we'll give that a very, very thorough stir. It's super important. Okay, so with the resin pour that we're about to do, we're going to split up into 2. So we've got a 20 mil height here that we're trying to achieve. So we're just going to try to split up into 2 10 mil pours. We're doing that because if you do the full pour of all the volume, we're going to get heaps of thermal temperature, and when you have high thermal temperature, and when it cures, it shrinks, and then we'll probably lose adhesion to the aluminium. So yeah, if you do 2 10 mil pours, do the first pour, let it dry, get that thermal temperature out of the resin, then do another pour on top of that to get our 20 mil height, and then fingers crossed we have no shrinkage. Yeah.
That was
a close call. Jono, just while he was filming, he quickly realised that the block wasn't level at all.
Yeah.
So we quickly threw a little jack under. Now we've got the block nice and level.
Cool.
It's actually absorbing into the sugar.
Sugar bit, yeah.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
So just send the builder, remember?
Right, that's our first pour. And you can see still got about 10 mil from the top of the deck. It's clear resin, so you can still see the sugar underneath it. That's cool. Nice. While we're waiting for this to dry,
I thought we'll crack open a nice ice cold Kinney.
Thank you, Charlie.
This is for you, Charlie. Oh. You know what
So
though?
good.
This would taste nice with like a bit of whiskey in there.
For sure.
We'll have to try that next video.
So while we're waiting for that to harden up, I think we're gonna start stripping this motor. So it's been a very interesting
Couple of hours
since we've been waiting for this to harden up. So we're trying this new resin and we were never sure, it hasn't really been done before with this resin, if it was gonna work. So what's happened is it sounds like, well, it looks like the resin is quite a thin viscosity. And what's happened is because the sugar is probably very light, it's kind of coming up and the resin is sinking down. So based on what I think compared to what we've poured down, I don't think it's fully sunken. I think there's still sugar underneath.
Yeah, definitely.
But the resin has sunken to a point where the sugar has come on top and then hardened on the surface. We do think it's time to start pouring a second layer.
Yeah.
And only then after it all dries up will we know.
Then,
we'll really know if this works.
Now looking back at it, we probably sort of somehow compressed the sugar in slightly more, and then also add like 4 resins, epoxy resins. You can buy like thickening powders to increase the viscosity of the product.
Yeah.
So that would have been a great idea.
Well, not all hope is lost, because
Yeah.
I feel like we have had a feel of that surface and it is quite hard. So I don't think any of this is going to continue to rise up.
Yeah.
And we still have, I'd say we have 15, 20 mil
Easily.
we can still pour. And once we got that pour down, and if it doesn't sink anymore, we can go and drill through it, and then we can blast some water out, and hopefully the water will dissolve the sugar as well.
Whatever sugar's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mainly like once we've done it and the resin's cured and we've, you know, pull our gasket on, mark out where the holes are, drill all the holes for the coolant. And then if we were to get the hose and squirt it into the water pump area, as long as water comes out of all the holes,
That's right.
and we've still got a usable block.
It's been a long couple of hours.
Yeah, and I'm just, it's a bit annoying that this has happened and we didn't even think about it, which is...
That's all right.
Yeah.
Our first time. So yeah, Chris is going to get ready for the second pour.
Yeah, I'll do.
In the meantime, I've just quickly pulled off the cams. And you know what? These do not look factory. And just based on the color, it doesn't look factory, but this is such a clean head. Everything is so shiny. There's no oil stains at all, so it's definitely been well looked after. What I'm not sure about is all those die grinder marks on the head. I don't think they're casting marks, but it looks like someone has perhaps done that so they could fit a lumpier or a larger cam. So I've just sent this off to Adam. Yeah, maybe he's forgotten, but maybe it does have a cam in there. But very clean, and so I'm very happy with that. We might leave this for now. We're gonna get into pouring tonight because it's past 12 and we're both really tired. So we're gonna pour it, leave it overnight, and then come back to it in the morning, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't have sunken.
Ay. Maybe, like you did recommend, we should have tested on the B16 block.
Yeah.
Like you recommended a couple of days ago.
That's okay. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. It's really late, guys. It's like 12:30.
It is. It's 12:30 on the dot.
And it looks like this might be saved.
Yeah, it might be a usable block. I think what we did. So we've just poured another 140-ish million.
If this cylinder support resin doesn't compress any further and we drill holes, we should be able to just flush out the rest with some water.
Yeah, but yeah, it was definitely a learning curve, and I think we'll definitely do things much different in the future.
Yeah.
And I think we'll just discuss, and we might get a couple of junk blocks and try a couple of different methods.
Yeah.
So we do try to nail this method.
Yeah. This block doesn't have to last us 10 years.
Yeah.
It has to last us a year.
Yeah, we just got to do that 1099 and that's it.
That's right. You know what, guys? I'm hopeful. Pray for us.
Yeah.
All right, it's late. We're going to call it a night. So yeah, tomorrow morning we'll get back into it and have a look at what's happened here. Okay, it is the next morning. Honestly, I couldn't sleep last night. It was just stressing me out. I was so tempted to come out here, but you know, just best to let it sit. And looks like this morning we haven't had any sinking in the epoxy, and we have what looks like a good bond to the sleeve. So I am able to press it, and it's definitely firm, but I wouldn't say it's a solid. This epoxy does require 24 hours to cure at 25 degrees. And given that we've only done this pour about 6 hours ago, still got to give it a bit of time. Thankfully, we have a break in the weather, and today we can push it outside and probably give it some heat. It should start hardening quickly then. But yeah, this is so relieving. The next step is to just let it cure. And then I think in 24 hours time, I'll come back to it. We'll drill holes and flush out the rest of the resin sugar mix. Fingers crossed. All right, this is day 2 on this engine. This morning I had a look at our cylinder support system, and it looks really good. I've since taken it out, and it's been just curing the past 8 hours out here, and it looks good. It looks good. My only concern really is because we did have a bit of an issue with the resin sinking over here. There appears to still be a passageway for the coolant to flow, but I think what we're going to try to do is just clean it up, drill some holes and figure it out. What do you say?
Yeah, we'll get stuck into it, and fingers crossed, I think, at the moment. Wow. That's not a good sign, eh? Oh, wait. Yes, it is.
Oh, yes, we've got
thank
water
God.
coming
All
through.
right. So we're just going to dissolve
And
it.
it's only coming one side. It's coming out. I can see all, oh, yeah. All
Oh,
of it.
thank God.
Oh, yes. Oh. As soon as the water hit it.
Yeah.
What does it look like from...
Look at it all coming out there on the...
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
Oh,
That's a bit of a relief. That drenched me.
All right, so we are using the Kinetic. This is an 81 millimeter, 81.5 millimeter. Apparently it doesn't really make a difference. But this is an 81 millimeter bore, so similar head gasket. It's the LS conversion head gasket, which means that it'll support the VTEC head on the LS block. I've just taken the dowels from the factory B18B, and this should sit here, I think. Yeah. And we're using the gasket to line up our coolant holes so we can drill through.
I think that's it.
Nice.
I think it's good enough. It's
Yeah.
gonna work.
Awesome. It's definitely gonna work. All right. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied
Yeah.
with that at the moment.
Bit of a learning curve for us, but I think this will do.
Yeah. Luckily, it was our engine that we did first.
Yeah, that's right. The next one's always better, but this definitely flows water, and it's bloody solid.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if it's
I think we've probably got about 40 mil of
easily even 60, 70 mil
yeah.
in some areas. Because I mean, the drill bit went down that far, so it's 80,
Definitely
80,
wasn't
100
our
mil.
intention, but the water still flows fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy days.
Yeah, done.